Welcome to Narrative Nook Audio Tales, where enchanted stories come to life. If you enjoy our stories, please subscribe, like and share to support our channel. Enjoy listening. The Woods family was a group of individuals whom the people in San Joto would stay away from, as messing with them was inviting trouble. Nora saw this and said boldly, "Grandpa, I didn't mean it." She had just arrived at school and did not know who Austin was. It sounded like she was defending Nicole, but it actually was to say that Nicole was the one who first used violence. Nicole was not too happy. Just when she was about to rebut, Daniel spoke. "Dad, Nicole is not to blame. I have looked into the ins and outs of the matter." Austin openly tried to grab Nicole. "Do we still have to put up with that?" Seeing the righteous indignation of Daniel and Nicole, Karen said sarcastically, "Daniel, Austin is Mr. Woods Sr.'s grandson. We are in trouble by offending him. I heard Snow say that Austin threatened to get Nicole expelled from the school." Karen threw a bombshell. "Expulsion?" Mr. Riddle Sr. frowned immediately. It was only last night that Mr. Ellison invited Nicole into the school, and he would expel her because she had offended Austin? What do you think? Austin's dad was a school trustee, and the students who offended Austin before did not seem to have a good ending. Karen was kicking Nicole when she was down, as if Nicole's expulsion was a foregone conclusion. Nora immediately looked at Nicole expectantly. "If that is the case, no one can help you, Nicole." "I am not asking anyone for help." Nicole frowned. Karen thought Nicole was unrepentant and immediately said, "Dad, see this girl? She still doesn't admit her fault. What wrong have I done?" Nicole frowned. "Do you mean I should let him grab me just because the Woods family is powerful? Will it not look bad on the Riddle family?" Nicole's voice was sonorous and powerful. For a moment, there was silence in the living room. Mr. Riddle Sr.'s eyes brightened up. "Absolutely. As nasty as the Woods family is, we, the Riddles, aren't someone who can be easily bullied." Nicole did the right thing. Nora was exasperated, not expecting Mr. Riddle Sr. to be so supportive of Nicole. Karen became anxious and said, "Dad, you should know how to distinguish between right and wrong. What good is it for us to mess with the Woods family?" Seeing his wife so fiery, Dylan coughed gently to remind her. "The situation is not that bad, Karen. The expulsion is no big deal. Austin doesn't know that Nicole is our family, and the Woods family will not bother us." Daniel could not take it anymore at seeing the husband and wife echoing each other's words. "I wonder why you two are so opinionated. Is it because you are afraid that Nicole's matter will implicate you too?" The faces of both Dylan and Karen turned red, and Dylan snarled, "Why say so? We don't just worry about ourselves, but the Riddle family. The Woods family is such a scoundrel that people try to keep away from them. What good is it for us to mess with them? Do you mean that for the Riddle family staying out of trouble, we should do nothing when our children are bullied, even if they are Snow and Rain?" Nicole shot a frosty glance at Karen and Dylan. Mr. Riddle Sr. became even more clear-headed this time. "You guys just want to stay away from this problem and care about yourselves. If Snow is the one who gets bullied, will you still shift the blame like now?" Karen tried to say something but was discouraged by Mr. Riddle Sr.'s reprimand. Seeing that no one could counter Nicole, Nora stared at her with indignation. She realized she had seriously underestimated Nicole. It did not take long for Mr. Riddle Sr. to express his final thoughts. "Nicole did the right thing. If she is expelled, I will find her a better school tomorrow. It is no big deal. I can even send Nicole to study abroad. No matter what, I want to give her the best education." The kid from the Johnston family was so outstanding. He was not going to let his granddaughter fall behind. Knowing that Mr. Riddle Sr. genuinely cared about her, Nicole looked at him with a relieved smile. "Don't worry about it, Grandpa. I will not be expelled." Her voice was calm and determined, inexplicably persuasive. "Mr. Ellison has contacted you?" Seeing that her granddaughter was so assured of herself, Mr. Riddle Sr. thought she might have gotten some news. "Not yet, but he will call me back as soon as he is free." Nicole sounded as if it was a matter of course. It was as though Mr. Ellison was her subordinate. This strange feeling made everyone look doubtful. Nora's eyes were almost on fire. Did Nicole really think Mr. Ellison was subservient to her? While she was thinking so, the family butler suddenly came up and whispered to Mr. Riddle Sr., "Mr. Ellison calls." Mr. Ellison? Not expecting that Mr. Ellison would call him, he took the call immediately. Everyone looked in Mr. Riddle Sr.'s direction. As Mr. Riddle Sr. had poor hearing, he put the call on the phone speaker. "Mr. Ellison, I didn't expect you to call." Mr. Riddle Sr. answered politely. On the other end of the phone, Mr. Ellison was letting out a kind smile. "Mr. Riddle Sr., today I heard that the kid from the Woods family offended your granddaughter Nicole. Is she all right?" Everyone heard that and was all wide-eyed. In terms of importance, it should be Nicole who offended Austin, but Mr. Ellison said that it was Austin who offended Nicole. How high was Nicole's importance in the eye of Mr. Ellison? Nicole subtly shook her head to signal Mr. Riddle Sr. He then shook his head and said, "She is fine. She didn't take it to heart." "Glad to hear. I will tell that kid from the Woods family to behave. No one will bully Nicole at school from now on. I assured you that. Thank you so much." Mr. Riddle Sr. was elated and immediately thanked Mr. Ellison. "No problem. Let us have a cup of tea together if you have time next time," Mr. Ellison said politely. "Any time, Mr. Ellison. Call me when you have time." Mr. Riddle Sr. was flattered. Not anyone could meet Mr. Ellison, and it was unimaginable that Mr. Ellison would ask to meet him. So, he agreed immediately. Sure. After that, Mr. Ellison hung up. The air felt standstill as everyone who heard the conversation looked at Nicole in disbelief. Nora was most surprised. She had not believed it at all that Mr. Ellison would still be protective of Nicole when such a thing happened, but his phone call had confirmed everything. Mr. Riddle Sr. slowly lowered his phone and calmed himself down. "Nicole, are you and Mr. Ellison close?" Last time Nicole only said she and Mr. Ellison had met just once. But he now felt that their relationship was more than acquaintances. Seeing her grandpa's doubts, Nicole thought for a moment and said, "Sort of." They had only met once, but it was she who had been accompanying him when he was in the hospital, and so they kind of knew each other well. Karen was not too happy with Nicole's answer. "What do you mean by sort of? How did you two meet?" She was resentful that a country girl like Nicole could get into Royal Creek Institute High School. Not only that, when Nicole confronted an opponent like the Woods family, Mr. Ellison still harbored Nicole. What was going on? She had to figure out their relationship. Neither Daniel nor Gloria spoke. Apparently, they were also eager to know what their relationship was. Seeing that her parents were so curious, Nicole decided to tell a little more. "If I must say so, I saved Mr. Ellison's life," Nicole said calmly, but her words stunned everyone. "You saved his life?" Karen stared wide-eyed at Dylan, unable to believe that an 18-year-old girl claimed to have saved Mr. Ellison's life. "Nicole, is what you say true? Don't bluff just because Mr. Ellison has called." A student from the countryside claimed to have saved Mr. Ellison's life. How was that possible? Was it not a pipe dream? Ask Mr. Ellison if you don't believe me. Nicole had little patience with Nora. Nora's face turned pale as she knew she was not qualified to see Mr. Ellison. Obviously, Nicole had concluded that she could not verify it. Daniel looked back and came to a sudden realization. No wonder Nicole was so sure that she would not be expelled when she was at home. Gloria was finally relieved. Yeah, so it seems that Nicole will not be expelled. Daniel and Gloria were happy, but it was a slap in the face for Dylan and Karen. At first, they thought about coming back today to tattle to Mr. Riddle Sr. about Nicole being kicked out of school, not expecting Nicole to turn things around. Instead of making Nicole look bad, the two of them had become the laughingstocks. Looking guiltily at Mr. Riddle Sr., Karen could no longer sit still. "Now that the matter is settled, we will go now." Mr. Riddle Sr. had no plan of letting her go just yet. In the future, stay out of the school issues of children and do not bring issues that shouldn't be brought home. Karen felt humiliated in front of Daniel and Gloria after being reprimanded by Mr. Riddle Sr., but this time, it was indeed her fault. She could only grit her teeth and say, "I got it, Dad." She then left with Dylan, with their tails between their legs. Mr. Riddle Sr. looked at Nicole with an avuncular smile. "You are truly my granddaughter. Tell me how you taught the kid Austin a lesson today." Mr. Riddle Sr. had long been despising the Woods family. His granddaughter was just like him, sharp, incisive, and fearless. Finding it hard to explain in words, Nicole showed a video to Mr. Riddle Sr. and her parents. The three of them watched nervously. "You know how to fight, Nicole?" Gloria was wide-eyed. "I used to learn some martial arts in the countryside. My grandmother said it was for self-defense." She dodged Gloria's gaze and randomly made up a story. "Not bad. Girls should learn some self-defense techniques. You are the only one who is like me in the family." The more Mr. Riddle Sr. watched, the more elated he became. He kept watching the video clip several times. Nora was completely neglected, her eyes fixated on Nicole. She could not believe that she had even used snow and rain to make Nicole look bad, yet she still failed. Instead, Nicole had stood out even more, and this was making Nora mad. Nora clenched her hands in resentment, her fingernails almost sinking into the flesh of her palms. An hour later, Daniel and Gloria were back at home with Nicole and Nora. Nicole texted Mr. Ellison to say thank you once she was in her room. Mr. Ellison had no habit of texting, so Nicole went to the shower. Not long after leaving the bathroom, there was a sudden knock on the door. She opened the door and saw Nora. "What is it?" Nicole asked indifferently, her eyes lacking emotion. "Nicole, this is the cosmetics I brought back from my previous trip to Flues. I would like you to have it." Nora let out an innocent smile, but Nicole did not like that smile very much. Thinking of how Nora kicked her when she was down today, Nicole took a step back. "I am good. I never use these things." She really hated cosmetics and did not bother to get them. "You have never used them?" Nora was slightly surprised. Nicole had never used cosmetics, yet her skin was so beautiful. It made her jealous. "Anything else?" Nicole sounded cold, clearly wanting to drive her away. Nora felt embarrassed and could only quickly get down to business. "I know that you and Austin have a conflict. I was just worried that our family would get involved, so I said something that might have offended you. Please don't mind. You may hit me if you are angry," Nora said with an innocent look, as if Nicole would bully her. Nicole sneered as she despised someone who liked to play the victim like Nora. "Since you know you shouldn't have said something that shouldn't be said, you should have corrected yourself instead of coming to me to pretend to apologize." With that, Nicole slammed the door shut. Nora felt insulted, as if she had been slapped, her face feeling a burning sensation. Damn it. How dare Nicole disparage her? Did Nicole really think she had the right to reprimand her because she came to apologize? Let's wait and see, Nicole. She stomped her feet angrily before taking her things and went away. Nicole had locked the door and now turned on the computer. After entering the dark web, she decided to start taking a job today. A client wanted her to hack into a network company's system and find loopholes in their accounts. This was the most common and simplest type of hacking job she had always been doing. She had done such hacking jobs for years, from accessing enterprise data centers to exploiting the Federal Intelligence Agency's system. But she had her principles and would do nothing illegal. 3 hours flew by. At midnight, she found a vulnerability and implanted a monitoring code into the target system to monitor the target's accounts. She then turned off the computer to prepare for sleep. She suddenly received an anonymous text message on her phone. "Carl is alive." Nicole's heart skipped a beat at seeing the name. She calmed herself down and replied, "Where is he?" The anonymous sender replied, "Beetletown, Lanningborg." "Great. I will go see him." After the last mission, she thought her partner was dead, not expecting that he was still alive. This made Nicole, who had always been calm, almost lost control of her emotions. "Not now. Someone is watching. We will take care of him. Don't go abroad so your whereabouts won't get exposed." Nicole suppressed her emotions after getting the reply. She would have to wait for a long while before she could meet Carl. But she was still too excited and could not sleep all night after knowing the news. She felt a little tired, but this was common to her. So, she still went for a morning run like usual. After breakfast, she came to Royal Creek Institute in the Riddle family car. Her frosty look could not hide her beauty. It attracted a lot of attention. A boy could not help but take out his mobile phone and take a few candid photos of her. Nicole looked back at the boy coldly, as if she had eyes on her back. The boy was intimidated by her gaze and deleted the photos. Now the rest of the people became more behaved, and Nicole hurried to Class B. Bradley had arrived. His grades were mediocre, but he was very hard-working, sitting on the side reading a book. When he saw Nicole, he asked her to sit down. Yesterday, Ms. Emerson came spot-checking the evening self-study class, and only you were not in the class. She will definitely get mad at you today. You have got to be careful. Nicole couldn't care less about that. She did not have to waste her time on that boring evening self-study. Nicole nodded, signaling Bradley that she got it. Lulu also came, running into the classroom and up to Nicole and Bradley, winking at them. Seeing that both of them looked at her in puzzlement, she caught her breath and said, "Nicole, Austin here. You had better hide now." Nicole did not expect Austin to still have the audacity to come after being taught a lesson so badly. However, she did not go anywhere. Instead, she just silently took out a foreign language book and read. Lulu looked at Nicole's nonchalant look and became anxious. Austin was notorious for being a petty guy. Nicole had pissed him off yesterday, and he would surely take revenge on her. Austin must be here to get revenge on you. Go to the teacher's office, and wait until the class starts before coming back. Just don't let him find you. It was heartwarming to see Lulu was so concerned about her. Just when Nicole was about to say something, Jack's vivacious voice came from behind. "She is supposed to be the one who should be worried, Lulu. Since Nicole doesn't want to listen to you, why do you care?" Jack remembered Nicole had rejected Gary's offer yesterday. Knowing that Austin was coming after her now, he could not help but gloat over it. "Let's see how arrogant you could still be when Austin arrives." Nicole looked at him coldly, and Jack looked at her dark eyes, somehow feeling a chill running up his spine. Just then, Austin had stormed into Class B with a few guys, his eyes searching around the rapey classroom before spotting Nicole. He paused for a second before striding toward Nicole, who was sitting in the back of the classroom. The few guys behind Austin rubbed their hands eagerly and stared at Nicole maliciously. All eyes were on Nicole. Jack and Wayne were sitting in the back, waiting to see how Austin would fix Nicole. Even Gary, who was indifferent to such things, looked over. Austin walked up to Nicole and suddenly bowed and said aloud, "I am sorry for yesterday, Nicole." For a moment, everyone's jaw dropped to the ground. Austin had always been the school bully and no one, except the Finley brothers, dared to mess with him. Now he was apologizing to a girl who had hit him. Everyone looked at Nicole in admiration. But the more unbelievable things were yet to come. Austin's followers looked at Austin with confusion, and one of them asked, "But boss, yesterday, this ungrateful brat rejected you." Before the guy could finish speaking, Austin gave him a punch with a backhand. "Stop talking like that to Nicole. From now onward, Nicole is my boss. I will not spare those who dare to bully her." The poor guy glanced angrily at Nicole. Seeing that Austin was serious, the rest bowed their heads and submitted to Nicole. After that, Austin looked at Nicole flatteringly, hoping to get her compliment. Everyone was in a daze for a moment, as they could not believe that all this was true. Jack and Wayne behind them were speechless. Gary watched on with great interest, his eyes falling on Nicole and studying her. But Nicole was nonchalant, giving no reaction to Austin's actions. She then calmly checked her watch and said to Austin, "I am not your boss. My class is about to start. Don't bother me anymore." Austin panicked when he saw Nicole opening a book, as if she was going to study. But his father had repeatedly told him to build a good relationship with Nicole and that he must not piss Nicole off. "I know it was my fault, Nicole. Please forgive me." Austin humbled himself. But Nicole ignored him, holding the book she had not finished reading. She did not seem to care about this farce that was happening right now. Austin's face flushed when Nicole ignored him. No one in Royal Creek Institute had ever humiliated him like this. He had been unwilling to call Nicole his boss from the beginning. How could he still be the school bully if Nicole rejected him? "You have got to be the boss, no matter what." Austin left angrily after saying that. Nicole had no idea that she had rejected something that many people considered great and irresistible. Many were envious of her. Gary saw her nonchalance and knew that Nicole did not take Austen seriously. He could not help but take a greater interest in her. Who was she that even the Woods family was bowing to her? Rain came looking for Gary when she saw Gary staring with interest at Nicole. Angry, she clenched the bag in her hand and took in Gary's line of sight. "Gary, there is a new cafe in front of the school. How about we go for a cup of coffee after school?" Gary was displeased when someone blocked his view. When he looked up and saw that it was Rain, he reluctantly agreed. Rain left the classroom feeling pleased. After she left, Bradley leaned over and whispered to Nicole, "I heard Rain had been courting Gary for a long time before Gary accepted Rain. Now it seems that the rumor is true." Nicole could not help but smirk upon hearing that. Thinking back to how arrogant the twin sisters, Snow and Rain, were when she was back at home last night, it would be interesting to see their family's reaction when they found out that their daughters were kissing the feet of the Finley brothers. Bradley looked at Nicole and scratched his head. "Stop worrying about others. Maybe you should worry about yourself. Is it really okay for you to reject Austen like this?" "Don't worry, it will be all right." Nicole couldn't care less. She was not thinking about Austen at all, but focusing her attention and immersed in the Asperian language book in front of her. Carl somehow came to mind. He was cynical and annoying, but his eyes were always so charming and wicked. Now she wondered how well he had recovered. But she felt less guilty toward him as long as he lived. Thinking of this, she breathed a sigh of relief. The class bell rang, and Nicole slowly pulled her drifting thoughts back. Miss Emerson walked in her high heels into the class with a stack of test papers in her hands. Miss Emerson asked Lulu to distribute the test paper while she stood on the podium with her arms folded, her eyes sweeping over the last few rows with a sneer. "Some students in our class couldn't even plagiarize correctly, making the exact low-level stupid mistakes. Why didn't you all copy the name too?" Jack whispered sarcastically, "It must be that Nicole who made the stupid mistake while plagiarizing. We have been doing that for so long, and nothing has happened." Why did Miss Emerson say someone was plagiarizing as soon as Nicole arrived? Wayne nodded in agreement with disdain for Nicole in his eyes. Miss Emerson continued, "Jack, Wayne, Gary, you three are at the same level. What is the point of plagiarizing each other's answers? You will get more correct answers by throwing the papers to the ground and stepping on them than answering them yourself. Plagiarism is so obvious. Were you afraid that I couldn't find out?" Jack was not too happy when Miss Emerson only singled out the three of them. "Nicole has done the same thing too. I saw it with my own eyes. Why don't you reprimand her?" Miss Emerson got furious when Jack was trying to implicate Nicole. Plagiarism is one thing, and slandering your classmate is another. Nicole has got a perfect score. Only she has a perfect score in the class. Even Lulu has answered 2 questions wrongly. So, tell me, who was plagiarizing whose answers? Miss Emerson turned her head to look at Nicole with a gentle smile. "Keep up the good work, Nicole. Don't get complacent just because you have scored a full mark this time. The monthly exam is around the corner. It is still crucial to do revision at night." Yesterday, she thought that Nicole's grades were mediocre. Nicole was even absent from the self-study class last night. It was only after the test did she find Nicole's exam results were anything but mediocre. She was now much more at ease. It shocked Bradley to see how easily Miss Emerson glossed over Nicole's absence from the self-study class. Jack was even more dumbfounded, not expecting Nicole to be the only person who got a perfect score. He and Wayne looked at Nicole sitting in the 3rd row from the last, as if she was some kind of monster. While passing the test papers to Nicole, there was a complicated look in Lulu's eyes as she noticed that Nicole had corrected the 2 questions that she had done wrong. Those 2 questions were tough problems, very challenging. She had thought about it for a long time and was still confused by them and gave the wrong answers. Yet Nicole could see through the problems at a glance and came up with smart, concise, and correct answers. She looked at Nicole's steps of solution. Her thinking was unique and unconventional yet effective. She admitted she was way behind Nicole. Could it be that this transfer student from the countryside was a real genius? Ms. Emerson also featured Nicole's problem-solving approach in her lectures. She compared it with the standard textbook answers and praised Nicole's creative approach. After the class, Lulu came up to Nicole and asked, Did you come up with the solution to those 2 problems yourself? Nicole nodded. Compiling hacking codes was 1,000 times more difficult than these test papers. These test papers were completely unnecessary for her. If it was not for the sake of submitting assignments, she would not even write it, as it would be a waste of time. That was why she just copied and pasted the answers. Nicole, you are awesome. Do you have time to teach me? Seeing Lulu looking at her with adoration, Nicole could not refuse her. She agreed with a smile. Sure. After Lulu left, Nicole felt stares from behind her while she lazily put her things into her bag. However, she paid no heed. Instead, she just packed and left the classroom. It was not until Nicole disappeared from the line of sight that Gary pulled back his gaze thoughtfully. Nicole was standing in front of the Royal Creek Institute campus as the driver called and apologized to her, saying that the traffic was too congested and told her to wait a little longer. Nicole saw that there was a cafe in front of the school. Since it was still early, and she had nowhere to go, she thought she might as well go in and sit down in the cafe. Once stepping into the cafe, she found that the interior decoration was of a Nordic style she liked very much. The color tone was subtle with a tad of luxury feel, which showed the cafe owner had good taste. Nicole walked over to the bar, ordered a glass of iced Americano, and then went to the corner of the cafe and sat down. It was laid back and free. Nicole sat in a chair and read the foreign language book. Unfortunately, it did not take long before a few people came in and sat down at an adjacent table. Hearing the familiar voices, Nicole looked up and saw Nora, Snow, and Rain. Nicole, I didn't expect to see you here. Nora saw Nicole and immediately let out a friendly smile. Do you want to join us? Nicole was not interested in Nora. Besides, she was disgusted to see Snow and Rain surrounded by those who tried sucking up to them. It is all right. My driver will be here soon. If not that she had nowhere to go, she would have wanted to leave by now. I will go shopping with my cousins and will be home late. Nora had a triumphant smile on his face, as if she was showing off that she could mingle with Snow and Rain. Nicole gave a plastic smile. Suit yourself. Her look of giving a damn upset Nora. She had invested so much time and effort to cozy up to Snow and Rain. What gave Nicole the right to ignore what her family thought? Biting her lip and seeing that Nicole had bowed her head to read her book, Nora could only turn around and return to her table. Celia Rowe, Nora's buddy, saw Nicole ignoring Nora and asked in puzzlement, so arrogant. Who is she? Celia seldom checked the forum and thus did not know who Nicole was. When asked, Nora immediately lowered her head and pretended to be embarrassed. My sister from the countryside. She doesn't know much about manners. Hope you all don't mind. But her words caused the girls to frown. A country girl is so arrogant? Uncivilized. Celia shot a sideways glance at Nicole and sneered. I wonder if a hillbilly knows how to appreciate coffee. She should have gone back to the countryside and do farming instead. Seeing Nicole being ridiculed, Snow and Rain sat by and gloated over it. With so many people sucking up to her, Celia was carried away. She stirred the coffee in her hand and then took a deep breath of the aroma of coffee. I could tell with just a sip that this coffee was made from the beans grown in Obla. I wonder if a hillbilly knows how to appreciate. Snow was cooperative. Indeed, I can also tell that this should be Habli's coffee beans, and was probably produced last year. That's why it is so fragrant and has a very strong coffee aroma. Rain quickly nodded. The roasting of this coffee bean goes through 10 complex processes. Everyone listened to them and nodded their heads in praise of their erudition. Seeing that they had gotten all the attention they wanted, Snow and Rain played humble, pretending that they were not seeking compliments, yet the smile on their faces had never stopped. Nora felt triumphant too, after Nicole was ridiculed. Just as they were at it, sudden laughter came. Snow and Rain turned around abruptly, not realizing that Nicole was leaning back in her chair and looking at them with unbridled sarcasm. Rain was the first to lose her cool. What are you laughing at? I laugh at you all, smart Alec. Nicole did not want to intervene at first, but these people had jabbed at her. She was not going to take the insult lying down. Smart Alec? How dare you call us that, hillbilly? Rain was pissed as no one at school dared to talk to them like this. She thought Nicole was too arrogant. Nora remained silent, eager to see how the twins were going to fix Nicole. But Nicole just swirled her coffee cup and took a sip gracefully. This isn't Hablee's coffee bean at all, but a new variety cultivated by a certain private estate in Flues. It is a specialty, which is basically not sold to the public. Stop pretending already. We can even tell the roasting process. Celia was diffident after hearing what Nicole had said. Nicole looked at the time and walked over to their table. She pressed her hands on the table and continued with a faint smile. What roasting process are you talking about? Nicole looked at them with disdain and scorn in her eyes, her powerful persona irrefutable. This coffee bean is roasted using the internationally famous Flues roast extremely deep roasting method so that the roasted coffee beans have a strong aroma, smooth taste but not sour. It brews a unique café au lait. I don't know if you have heard of the principle that less is more. Often, the simpler the roasting method, the better the coffee, and coffee beans that have gone through over a dozen processes are probably just a pile of charcoal. Charcoal? Everyone was stunned. Looking at the three girls who spoke just now, they thought about it carefully. It seemed that what Nicole had said made sense. The colors on Snow and Rain's faces changed. They knew nothing about coffee, and what they said just now was mere hearsay. Rain felt humiliated, but she was not going to admit it. Stop lying. This is clearly Hablee's coffee. Don't be a smart aleck. Yeah. When you say it is Flosen coffee beans, and it is Flosen, I might as well say it is Asperian. Celia came to her senses. Just then, Nora got up, pretending to worry about Nicole. Stop talking if you know nothing, Nicole. They often drink coffee. Nora was convinced that Nicole was lying. Those who knew nothing would think that what Nora said was more believable. After all, how many times did a country girl drink coffee? Right then, a magnetic voice came. Miss Riddle is spot on. My coffee beans are indeed from Flosen Manor, and the roasting method used is indeed deep roasting. I really did not expect that Miss Riddle was so knowledgeable. The voice was elegant and sonorous, so everyone could not help but look at the person. It was a man looking dignified in a silver-gray suit. He came up to Nicole. What a coincidence, Miss Riddle. Nicole raised an eyebrow, not expecting to see Jared here. What are you doing here? Seeing that Nicole was so curious, Max quickly stepped forward. I guess you haven't known. This new cafe belongs to Mr. Johnston. This is his cafe? While Nicole furrowed his brows, those people sitting behind her were stunned. Even Snow and Rain froze to see such a charming guy. Snow knew this name well. Jared? Aren't you the junior owner of Johnston Group? She had heard about it lately that Mr. Johnston Sr.'s grandson had returned from studying abroad. Could it be him? I can't believe it. He is Nicole's fiancé. Rain's eyes were full of envy. She had spent much time and effort to court Gary, but a hillbilly like Nicole could easily have such an outstanding fiancé. The jealousy in Nora's eyes almost overflowed when Nora heard the word fiancé. These envied eyes should have been on her. Nicole, you should quickly introduce him to us. Snow looked eagerly at Jared. Nicole glanced at her and could not believe that Snow had changed her attitude so quickly. Snow had just given her the cold shoulder a while ago and now pretended to be close to her and wanted her to introduce Jared to her. Didn't you just know his identity? Why bother her with such an introduction? Snow was embarrassed but could only hold out her hand to Jared. Hello, Mr. Johnston, I am Snow, Nicole's cousin. Nice to meet you. She smiled and fiddled with her hair, trying to impress Jared. No boy at school could resist her suggestive teasing, and she thought Jared was no exception. But Jared just nodded casually. Nice to meet you. Snow and Rain tried their entire bag of tricks to impress Jared but hit a wall when Jared snubbed them. Nora immediately snapped back and wanted to smash down Nicole. We are sorry for the blunder. We were just discussing the coffee beans, and Nicole was just spitballing. Hope you don't mind if she is wrong. Nora looked graceful. The way she pretended to speak for Nicole could not be bitchier. Nicole's stomach churned, and she almost threw up. Just then, Jared suddenly said, Miss Riddle is right, this coffee bean is indeed a product of my Flosen Manor, and she is spot on about the roasting method. Everyone gasped in surprise. The owner of this cafe was here, and he could not be lying. They never expected that what Nicole said was correct. Everyone looked at Snow and Rain with disgust, as it turned out that the two girls were just smart Alex. Jared's confirmation was a slap in the face for both Snow and Rain. They blushed in humiliation and wished the ground would swallow them up. At this point, Jared did not want to entertain the others anymore. "Excuse me. I would like to talk to Miss Riddle in private." The invitation from such a charming man immediately aroused everyone's envy. But it surprised Nicole because Jared was cold to her when they met last time. So why did he suddenly want to talk to her alone? It was at this time that she realized she had a problem. The reason she knew this coffee bean so well was that someone gifted the coffee beans to her foster father, who, in turn, gave it to her because she liked coffee. So, could it be that Jared knew about her foster father? Her heart skipped a beat. Did this mean that she was likely to expose her identity? Before she knew it, Jared had brought her into a private lounge as everyone looked on with envy. After taking a seat, Jared stared at her with a thoughtful look and asked in curiosity, "Strange to say, I have never sold the coffee beans produced in my estate in the market, and I have only given it to some relatives and friends. I wonder how you know so much about it." He had not carefully checked Nicole's background last time because she was only brought from the countryside, and he thought her background could not be simpler. He had given the coffee beans and red wine from his estate to some bigwigs. How could she, a little girl from the countryside, know about it? Nicole's mind was racing, and she finally said, "Do you know Mr. Ellison?" Jared did not know why she was asking this. After thinking for a while, he nodded. "Mr. Ellison and my grandfather are old acquaintances, and we have known each other for many years." Nicole was relieved and became bold when she heard this. "Mr. Ellison and I are also kind of acquaintances, and I once had the privilege of drinking coffee brewed from the coffee beans produced in your estate." Nicole thought she had been very low-key. After all, her relationship with Mr. Ellison was not a secret. Jared's gaze deepened as he asked, "Are you and Mr. Ellison close?" If it were not for the genuine look in her eyes that told him she was not lying, he would have doubted and thought that this little girl was bluffing. Who is Mr. Ellison? He was a previous generation giant figure of San Joto's social circle. Although Ellison had retired and was now working in the education industry, his network and stature were still unmatched by many. He could be said to be a giant in the San Joto business community. Those who could rub shoulders with him were all people of importance in San Joto. Jared's grandfather and Mr. Ellison were lifelong friends, and it was Jared's grandfather who introduced Mr. Riddle Sr. to Mr. Ellison. But this little girl claimed she was close to Mr. Ellison. Sort of. "It was Mr. Ellison who helped me with the school enrollment and my problem with the Woods family." Nicole did not bat an eye, sounding as if it was something normal. This shocked Jared even more, and the doubt in his eyes turned into inquisition. Who was this girl, really? How could Nicole make Mr. Ellison so concerned about her and help her settle the conflict between her and the Woods family? But the friendship between Mr. Ellison and Mr. Riddle Sr. was not as deep as to warrant Ellison to care so much about Nicole. So, could what Nicole said to be true? Nicole took another sip of coffee when suddenly her phone rang. She answered it. Her driver informed her that he had arrived. She got up immediately and did not forget to take out $100 bill and put it next to the coffee cup. "My driver has arrived. I have got to go now. Thank you for your hospitality." Jared saw this and pushed the banknote back to her. "As long as our engagement is still intact, you are still my fiancé, and the coffee here is always free for you." Nicole was slightly stunned, not expecting to receive such privileged treatment. The production of coffee beans in his estate was limited every year, yet she could drink as much as she wanted for free. In that case, it was not too bad to be his fiancé. Wait a minute, what the hell was she thinking? How could she compromise just for the coffee? She coughed with embarrassment but still kept her modesty. "Thank you, Mr. Johnston. I will come again when I have time." She loved coffee, so why not since it was free? "Okay." He stared at her pretentious look and could not help but smile. This girl seemed to like his coffee beans. "I will go now. See you around." Nicole waved goodbye. She smirked when she turned around. She would come for the coffee often. Max came into the private lounge after Nicole left. Jared immediately instructed Max, check Nicole's background and don't alarm the Riddle family. He wanted to figure out the relationship between this girl and Mr. Ellison, and how she knew the existence of his estate. Max bowed his head, turned around, and left to find out Nicole's background. Turning his gaze to the floor-to-ceiling window, Jared looked at Nicole's slender body from behind and smirked unconsciously. This girl had aroused his interest. Nicole got into the car, looked back at Jared, sitting by the window, and could not help but breathe a sigh of relief. Thankfully, she was smart enough to use Mr. Ellison as a straw man. When she thought about it again, she felt obliged to visit Mr. Ellison, as he was really her benefactor. Back at home, Nicole did not expect to see the twin brothers there either. Sitting across from them was a tall guy in a school uniform with a refined persona. His school uniform was like that of the high school, but the color of the collar was darker, looking like that of the college. "Stanley, Nicole is back," Spencer immediately introduced when his keen eyes spotted Nicole. Stanley looked over at Nicole, his eyes twinkling with surprise. At first, he thought her sister from the countryside would have that rustic look. But Nicole did not have that at all. Instead, she was incredibly beautiful and shared the same facial features as her brothers. "Hello, Stanley," Nicole spoke first, her face breaking out in a gentle smile. Stanley looked a little shy and nodded unnaturally. "Hello, Nicole," Spencer quickly said to Nicole. Stanley is a nerd and not good at talking to beautiful girls. His face is blushed again. "Shut up." Stanley glanced at Spencer, his pale face even redder than before. Nicole did not expect that the top student whom Spencer and Samuel mentioned had such a shy personality. "Stop messing around. Come over for dinner." Gloria saw the three brothers pick at each other when she came out of the kitchen with a bowl of tomato soup. But when she saw Nicole, a smile spread across her face. "You are back, Nicole. I have made grilled salmon, your favorite dish. You have got to try it." Nicole had started to warm up to Gloria for the past few days. She let out a gentle smile and sat down beside Gloria. "Thank you, Mom." She never mentioned her favorite dishes, but Gloria had been paying attention to her preferences. Knowing that Nicole loved salmon, she had been cooking salmon for the past 2 days. Samuel quickly sat down, looked at a tableful of delicious food, and smiled happily. "I love these dishes. I have come back at the right time today. All you know is eat." Spencer groused as he sat down. Daniel did not come back today as he had got something on. Gloria was sitting in the main seat, and Nicole was left to sit beside Stanley. As soon as Nicole sat down, she felt it funny when Stanley tensed up. How did he become the student union president when he was so shy? "Stanley, toast to you," Nicole said, raising a glass of water. Everyone looked at Stanley in silence. "Nicole," Samuel wanted to speak. Stanley had a shy personality and was most afraid of girls taking the initiative. Nora once poured him a bowl of soup, and he did not drink it at all. After that, Nora felt a sense of alienation toward him. But this time, Nicole was toasting to him. Samuel and Spencer felt something was not right, afraid that Stanley might lose his temper. The air was still for a few seconds. Nicole had no idea what was going on and why the twin brothers looked at her nervously. Suddenly, Stanley held up his glass and clinked glasses with Nicole. "Ha!" Samuel and Spencer were stunned. Even Gloria was wide-eyed. "Stanley, are you okay?" Stanley shook his head. "I am all right." He felt strange too, as he usually was afraid of interacting with the opposite sex, and even when Nora approached him, he felt uncomfortable. But he was not resenting Nicole at all. Gloria could not help but wonder if this was the beauty of blood relations. While everyone was stunned, someone called out at the door. "Mom, everyone, I am back." Nora's voice sounded sullen. She had come in and saw Nicole toasting to Stanley before she called out. Just that no one had not noticed her, she felt terrible because of jealousy. Stanley had always resented her, and no matter how good she was to him for the past years, he still resented her. But he changed into another person as soon as Nicole returned. She had been in this family for over 10 years. Was everything she had done in vain? Why was everyone so nice to Nicole as soon as she returned? The hatred inside her surged like the billowing sea, but she could only try to keep a smile on her face. "Why did you come back so late, Nora?" Samuel asked with concern. It made Nora feel better, as she knew that Samuel genuinely cared for her. Thinking of this, she raised her chin and said, "I went shopping and had a drink with Snow and Rain after school. That's why I am late. Had I known that you guys would be back today, I would have come back earlier." Nicole scoffed. Nora did not look like she wanted to return home when she ingratiated herself with Snow and Rain. "Come have dinner together." Gloria smiled and beckoned Nora to sit down. But what Gloria said made Nora feel as if she was just a guest. She glanced at the long table again. There were 2 people on the left and 2 on the right, and she was superfluous. Biting her lip, she sat down next to Samuel. As everyone began to dig in, Samuel brought up what happened at school. "Stanley, have you looked at the high school forum? Nicole is now the most popular girl at school." "Seriously?" Gloria's eyes were filled with elation. "Nicole has just enrolled, and she is already so famous?" Spencer nodded. "It is true. There is something that you don't know. Austin was so embarrassed and furious because he got rejected when confessing to Nicole. Gloria did not know that until now. No wonder. Austin deserves it then. How dare he disturb her daughter? He really needed some good spanking." Nora immediately had something to say at the mention of this. "Mom, it was indeed Austin's fault, but Nicole should not have overreacted. Even with Mr. Ellison's help, they would inevitably see each other at school, and there were bound to be unpleasant encounters." Nora seemed to care about her, but she was blaming Nicole verbally. Nicole could not help but put down her cutlery and looked at Nora. "It won't happen again. Austin came to our class today and apologized to me." "Apologized?" Gloria was surprised. "That arrogant kid of the Woods family apologized to you?" The news caught everyone by surprise. After all, no one was in the same class as Nicole, and naturally, no one knew about it. "Yeah, he apologized and even asked me to be his boss. I didn't agree," Nicole said nonchalantly as if she was talking about someone else. "What did you say? Austin asked you to be his boss?" Both Samuel and Nora were wide-eyed. Austin was a school bully who stirred up trouble with a few underlings every day. It was unimaginable that such a person would ask Nicole to be his boss. What was going on? Nora was in Class A and had no idea that Nicole had made such a huge splash at Class B today. She bit her lip. Even after exposing what happened at school, not only did she fail to keep Nicole in check, she had also caused Nicole to earn the admiration of her brothers. Samuel was the first to express his compliment. "No wonder Austin asked you to be his boss. Your over-the-shoulder move yesterday was so badass." "Yeah, have you studied martial arts before, Nicole?" Spencer also asked out of curiosity. Gloria had never known that Nicole was skilled in martial arts. She could not help but look at Nicole. "Did you learn martial arts before?" Since everyone was so curious, Nicole decided to tell the truth. "Well, I won a martial arts championship during my 9th grade in junior high school." "Martial arts champion?" The twin brothers were even more surprised. They could not help but glance at each other. The 2 of them were still playing games when they were in their 10th grade. In contrast, their sister had won the martial arts championship. Nora was filled with jealousy. The bar must be low for the martial arts championship in the countryside. Nicole scoffed and cocked an eyebrow. It was a national martial arts championship. "Oh my God." Samuel's serious admiration instantly turned to adoration. "Nicole, you are seriously badass. Can you teach me when you have time?" Samuel's eyes were filled with Nicole. Now the last person who ever paid attention to Nora was gone. Because of this, Nora looked sullenly at Nicole. Damn the hillbilly. Was Nicole showing off in front of her? Nicole noticed the look in Nora's eyes and deliberately agreed to Samuel's request. "Yeah, why not? If you are willing, feel free to find me." Nora clenched her hands, her nails almost sinking into the flesh when she saw Nicole's triumphant look. But no one was paying attention to her. Samuel and Spencer were curious to know the process of Nicole learning martial arts, while Gloria looked concerned when she heard about her injuries during the practice. Meanwhile, Stanley listened on, occasionally refilling her glass with water. Everyone at the table had excluded her. Nora lost her appetite. After taking a few bites, she said, "I am going upstairs." "Okay," Samuel said without looking at her, much to her surprise. Nora was even more furious this time. She stomped her feet and went upstairs at once. While everyone was chattering at the table, Stanley noticed Nora's unhappiness. Something told him something was wrong with Nora's expression when she left. Nicole returned to her room after a lively dinner. Samuel's enthusiasm was overwhelming for her. Fortunately, the few of them rarely came home. Gloria wanted to know how they were doing these days, as she was preparing what they would need to take to school later. After taking a shower, Nicole locked the door and turned on her notebook to check the job's progress. The monitoring code was working properly. Just as she was about to close the notebook lid, she suddenly noticed a program, which she did not code, running in the lower left corner of the screen. The little program was emitting a faint glow. Nicole's keen eye immediately recognized what it was: a location tracking malware. Trying to track me down? Not so easy. Nicole scoffed, her fingers flying over the keyboard, quickly closing all channels, and shutting down this specially built notebook computer. She had many enemies. It would be too dangerous if her location was exposed. But what she did not know was that as quick as her action was, the tracking malware had still lit up on the map for a split second. Max immediately located her coordinates and quickly reported to Jared. "Mr. Johnston, Lucifer's action was fast. Our location tracking program was removed." Jared's expression darkened. It was removed so easily? It was a top deciphering program he had bought with top dollar. He had even manually modified it to make it even more stealthy, but Lucifer's hacking skills had cracked it before he knew it. Yes, but the program has still displayed its coordinates for 0.1 seconds. Max was almost cheering with joy, as days of monitoring finally came to fruition. Really? Jared's eyes lit up. He also had amazing hacking skills, and 0.1 seconds was all he needed. "I have got the precise coordinates, but it is bizarre." Max zoomed in the map, and found the signal coordinates were set at San Joto. "Where?" Jared frowned. "The Riddle family house." Max still felt surprised, even though he had checked and confirmed it repeatedly. "In the Riddle family house?" Jared was in disbelief. How is this possible? Lucifer, the famous hacker, had been hiding in the Riddle family home not far away from him? How was this possible? His company abroad had nothing to do with Johnston Group, nor did it have any dealings with the Riddle Corporation. The Riddle family had no reason to sabotage his business. He lost $100 million when his company's system was paralyzed the last time. $100 million might be a drop of the ocean for him, but it was a great humiliation. So, he wanted to track down Lucifer at all costs. Nevertheless, never had he expected this person, who he had thought was somewhere far away, to be this close to him. It was in the Riddle family home. Could it be that the tracking system has malfunctioned? Jared was a little incredulous. "Mr. Johnston, your skills are also one of the best in the world. It is impossible that the tracking program you have modified will malfunction." Max was telling the truth. He sighed quietly, knowing that even Jared, who had always been confident, had started to doubt himself. This just showed how huge the impact it was on him. Seeing Jared's silence, Max could only continue. "Mr. Johnston, I will check out the Riddle family first, no matter what." Jared snapped back and looked at Max with sullen eyes. "Okay, at least find out if someone from Riddle Corporation is behind this." Mr. Riddle Sr. had a deep friendship with his grandfather, and over the years, Riddle Corporation had made a lot of money with its relationship with Johnson Group. He was not going to spare them if it was Riddle Corporation that backstabbed him. Nicole lay on the bed, feeling uneasy when she thought about the tracking malware. It was sophisticated malware. She had just discovered that there were a few lines of code that were very different and could trace her coordinates to 0.01 second accuracy. In other words, even if she sent out 0.01 seconds of coordinate information, the other side could still receive it. The more she thought about it, the more she felt something was wrong with the job itself. It was too easy to get the job, not to mention its high reward and easy task. She had not met such a generous client in so many years. Thinking about it, she started to realize that someone must have deliberately set a trap to phish her IP address. If this was the case, she could no longer live in the Riddle family home. Otherwise, it would bring danger to her family. She had to leave the Riddle family home and go to a crowded place. The next day, Nicole got up and went for a run, her mind preoccupied with the problem. When she came back and after a shower, she found Daniel, Gloria, and her brothers already sitting at the table. Sean got up early and went to work every day, so it was rare to see him during breakfast. Surprisingly, Steve, who had his own house outside, had returned. He was reading a financial newspaper when she came downstairs. He looked up and said good morning to her gently. "Hey Nicole. Long time no see." He let out an exaggerated smile. "Good morning, Steve," Nicole responded with a smile, but secretly sneered. Apparently, they had just met 2 days ago. Coming to the table, she still sat down next to Stanley, as usual. Stanley was not in his school uniform but a white blouse, looking gentle as sheep and approachable. Sitting across from him was Nora, who saw that Nicole and Stanley were getting along well. As the food was served, Nicole held up a glass of milk and smiled inadvertently at Stanley. "Stanley, are you staying in the school hostel just like Spencer and Samuel?" Stanley nodded, not knowing why she asked. "Yeah, it is busier during the 3rd year in college. So, I stay on campus." "Are you bragging or what, Stanley?" 3rd year in college is no way near as busy as in 12th grade. Spencer could not help but complain. Samuel echoed. "Absolutely. We are forced to stay on campus while you are there by choice." Stanley looked helpless. "I can't help it. The school has a library. It is more convenient for me." Everyone in the family knew that Stanley enjoyed studying in the library, where he often spent an entire day there. "Since you all are living on campus, could I apply for boarding as well?" Thank you for listening. If you have enjoyed this story, please like and share so others can see it too. Also hit the subscription button and notification bell so you can be notified on our next release. Thank you for your support. God bless you.